Ever looked at a building and thought, wait, how is that even standing? Some structures laugh in the face of gravity, bending the rules of architecture and engineering in ways that seem impossible. From tilted houses to floating museums, these buildings are more than just eye-catching. They're mind-blowing feats of design. Get ready to explore 7 of the most gravity-defying buildings that challenge everything we thought we knew about construction. Let's dive in! Museum of Tomorrow. Imagine a building that looks like it belongs in a sci-fi movie. Hovering over the water, stretching toward the sky like a futuristic spaceship ready for liftoff. That's the Museum of Tomorrow in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and it's unlike anything you've ever seen. Designed by Santiago Calatrava, this architectural wonder defies gravity with its massive, cantilevered roof, extending 75 meters over the plaza and 45 meters over the sea, giving it the illusion of floating. But here's where it gets even crazier. This isn't just a visual masterpiece, it's built for the future. The roof is covered in solar panels that move with the sun, like giant mechanical sunflowers, generating renewable energy to power the building. The museum even pulls water from the ocean, filters and reuses it for cooling, making it a self-sustaining eco-marvel. Inside, it's all about exploring the future of humanity, from AI and climate change to space exploration and bioengineering. Every exhibit is designed to make you question, where is humanity headed? A building that looks like it's defying gravity while actively shaping the future. Now, that's engineering magic. CCTV headquarters. Ever seen a skyscraper that looks like it's breaking the laws of physics? Meet the CCTV headquarters in Beijing, China, a gravity-defying masterpiece that laughs in the face of traditional architecture. Designed by the legendary Rem Koolhaas and his firm OMA, this building isn't just tall, it's bold, bizarre, and completely mind-bending. Instead of the typical towering rectangle, this skyscraper bends into itself, forming a continuous loop that connects 2 massive, leaning towers with a 75-meter horizontal overhang, suspended 500 feet above the ground. It looks as if it's frozen mid-collapse, yet it stands firm, supported by an intricate web of steel bracing, making it one of the most complex buildings ever constructed. But here's where it gets even wilder because of its unique shape. The building has no real front or back. Every angle gives you a different perception, making it seem like an optical illusion in the middle of Beijing's skyline. Some even call it the Big Pants because of its uncanny resemblance to a pair of trousers. Inside, it's home to China's largest television broadcaster, packed with cutting-edge studios, production facilities, and offices. But let's be honest, the real showstopper is the building itself. A true engineering marvel that challenges everything we thought we knew about skyscrapers. Heydar Aliyev Center. What if a building had no straight lines, no sharp corners, just pure flowing movement? That's exactly what the Heydar Aliyev Center in Baku, Azerbaijan feels like. A futuristic structure that seems to breathe and flow like a liquid wave. Designed by the legendary Zaha Hadid, this masterpiece breaks every rule of traditional architecture and looks like it's defying gravity itself. The entire building appears to rise from the ground in one continuous motion, curving and folding as if it's alive. It has no rigid framework, just an endless, undulating form that seamlessly blends the walls, ceilings, and floors into a single, fluid entity. The white, glossy surface reflects light differently at every hour, making the building change its appearance throughout the day. But here's the real magic. How does this thing even stand? Underneath its smooth, alien-like shell is a hidden network of steel and reinforced concrete, engineered with cutting-edge digital modeling techniques. The result? A structure that looks like it should collapse under its own weight, yet it stands tall, solid, and awe-inspiring. Inside, it's just as mesmerizing: exhibition halls, auditoriums, and galleries that feel like stepping into the future. This isn't just a building, it's a sculpture, an experience, a revolution in architecture. If gravity had a rival, this would be it. Needle Tower. What if I told you there's a tower that defies gravity, not with steel beams or concrete walls, but with invisible forces holding it together? Meet the Needle Tower, a 60-foot-tall optical illusion standing outside the Hirshhorn Museum in Washington, D.C. Unlike any traditional structure, this tower doesn't rely on solid walls or heavy columns. Instead, it floats in perfect balance using a mind-bending principle called tensegrity. So, what's tensegrity? Imagine a structure where every part is either in pure tension or pure compression, but they never touch. That's exactly what happens here. The tower is made up of thin steel rods and cables, where the cables pull inwards while the rods push outwards, creating a perfect force equilibrium. It's like a game of architectural Jenga, where if just one piece were removed, the whole thing would collapse. At first glance, it looks impossibly fragile, as if a strong gust of wind could topple it over. But the truth is, it's surprisingly strong. This delicate balancing act was engineered by Kenneth Snelson, a pioneer of tensegrity, proving that structures don't always need bulky materials to stand tall. This tower isn't just a sculpture, it's a physics lesson, an engineering marvel, and a gravity-defying work of art that leaves you staring in disbelief. Is it floating? Is it stable? Or is it some kind of architectural magic? Well, that's for you to decide. Museum of Rock. What if a building could capture the raw energy of rock music? Bold, rebellious, and completely unexpected. That's exactly what the Museum of Rock, or Ragnarok, in Roskilde, Denmark does. This isn't just a museum, it's a headbanging, gravity-defying architectural statement that looks like it's about to take off into the sky. Designed by MVRDV and Kobe, the museum's most mind-blowing feature is its dramatic 25-meter-long cantilever that juts out like a guitar solo, breaking every rule. Half of this massive golden structure hangs in mid-air, with no visible support underneath, making it look like it's frozen in time mid-stage dive. The entire facade is wrapped in gold-colored aluminum panels, giving it a loud, rebellious rock star-like presence. Step inside, and the experience gets even crazier. The museum's interior is filled with concert-like lighting, bold red staircases, and immersive soundscapes, making visitors feel like they're stepping into the heart of a live show. From legendary rock memorabilia to high-tech exhibits that let you create your own music, this place is not just about looking. It's about feeling the music. A building that floats, glows, and screams rock and roll. The Museum of Rock proves that architecture, like music, should be bold, electrifying, and always breaking the rules. Cube houses. What if I told you there's a neighborhood where houses balance on their corners like tumbling dice, except they never fall? Welcome to the cube houses in Rotterdam, Netherlands, one of the most mind-bending, gravity-defying architectural experiments ever built. Designed by Piet Blom, these bright yellow cubes are tilted at a 45-degree angle, making them look like they're precariously hanging in mid-air. Here's the wild part. People actually live inside them, but living in a tilted cube? That's no joke. The walls and windows lean at bizarre angles, making every room feel like a surreal, optical illusion. Walking inside feels like stepping into an Escher painting, where nothing quite aligns with what your brain expects. Even everyday tasks like setting up furniture or simply walking through a doorway become a game of balance. So how do they stay up? The secret lies in their hexagonal pylons, which act like super strong stilts, anchoring the cubes to the ground while leaving enough space underneath for shops and walkways. This gives the entire complex a futuristic floating village vibe, as if the houses are suspended in motion, mid-spin. More than just a quirky experiment, these cube houses prove that architecture can be playful, innovative, and completely mind-boggling. It's not just a place to live, it's a gravity-defying everyday adventure. Balancing barn. What if your house looked like it was about to tip over the edge of a hill but never actually fell? That's exactly the kind of mind-bending illusion created by the balancing barn in Suffolk, England. At first glance, it seems impossibly unstable, with half of the house suspended in mid-air, stretching 15 meters beyond its foundation. But don't worry, it's not going anywhere. Designed by MVRDV, this 30-meter-long metal-clad barn isn't just a stunt, it's a masterpiece of architectural balance. The trick lies in its hidden engineering genius. The half of the house that rests on solid ground is built with heavier materials, while the overhanging portion is made lighter, keeping the whole structure perfectly stable. It's like a giant seesaw frozen in motion, daring gravity to make a move. Step inside, and the magic continues. Huge windows offer breathtaking countryside views, but the real thrill? The swing installed right underneath the cantilevered section. Because what's better than swinging beneath a house that looks like it could tip over? The balancing barn isn't just a home, it's a gravity-defying optical illusion, blending architecture, adventure, and engineering brilliance in one jaw-dropping package. A house that challenges physics and your sense of balance? That's a place worth living in if you dare. Architecture isn't just about building, it's about pushing boundaries and defying limits. These gravity-defying structures prove that impossible is just another challenge for brilliant engineers and designers. Which one blew your mind the most? Let us know in the comments. And if you love exploring mind-bending architecture, make sure to subscribe to DwellScape for more incredible content. See you in the next video. Imagine walking through the ruins of a once mighty castle. Its walls crumbling, its halls silent, yet the air feels thick with whispers of the past. Some of these forgotten fortresses hold secrets darker than time itself, tales of betrayal, bloodshed, and spirits that refuse to rest. From gateways to hell, to haunted prisons and vampire lairs, these castles aren't just abandoned, they're alive with history. So, are you ready to uncover the darkest secrets hidden within these lost legends? Let's begin. Huská Castle. Alright, imagine this. You're wandering deep into the forests of the Czech Republic, miles away from civilization, and suddenly, you stumble upon an eerie, ancient fortress. But here's the weird part. Huská Castle wasn't built to keep people out, it was built to keep something in. No kitchens, no water source, no real living quarters, just thick walls and a chapel strategically placed over a mysterious bottomless pit. Local legends say this pit was a gateway to hell itself. Terrified villagers claim to have seen winged creatures and half-human beasts crawling out at night, screeching in agony. And if that's not creepy enough, let's fast forward to World War II. The Nazis took over Huská Castle, using it for experiments that many believe were occult in nature. Some say they were trying to summon something beyond human comprehension. To this day, eerie noises echo through its abandoned halls, and visitors report shadowy figures lurking in the darkness. Would you dare to spend a night there, or would you rather leave whatever's inside undisturbed? Chateau Gaillard. This one's straight out of Game of Thrones. Built by Richard the Lionheart in the late 12th century, Chateau Gaillard was supposed to be an impenetrable fortress, a masterpiece of medieval warfare. Richard even mocked his enemies, boasting that not even the devil himself could breach its walls. Yeah, that didn't age well. In 1204, the French, led by King Philip II, laid siege to the castle in a way that was brutal and downright terrifying. They trapped people in the lower town and starved them for months, so badly that desperate civilians resorted to cannibalism. Eventually, Philip's army found a weakness in the castle's defenses, sneaking in through a latrine chute. Yes, literally crawling through a medieval toilet to get inside. What followed was a bloody massacre. Today, the castle stands in ruins, a silent reminder that even the greatest fortresses can fall. But visitors say the echoes of suffering still linger in the stone walls. Some even claim to hear whispers on the wind, as if the ghosts of the siege still wander the ruins. Dunscaith Castle. Imagine standing on the cliffs of the Isle of Skye, cold winds whipping against your face as you stare at the jagged ruins of Dunscaith Castle, also known as the Fortress of Shadows. This castle wasn't just a stronghold, it was a warrior's proving ground soaked in blood and legend. According to ancient Celtic mythology, Dunscaith was home to the legendary warrior queen, Scathach. She was a fierce battle instructor who trained the most powerful fighters of her time, including the Irish hero Cuchulainn, a warrior so powerful he could single-handedly defeat entire armies. But the training here wasn't just about swords and shields, it was a test of survival. Many warriors entered Dunscaith, but only a few ever left. And it wasn't just the living who roamed these halls. Legends tell of restless spirits of fallen warriors, cursed to remain within the castle's walls. Locals report hearing the sound of phantom swords clashing at night, footsteps crunching on the stone floors, and eerie whispers carried by the sea breeze. Some say that if you stand at the ruins at midnight, you can hear the ghostly echoes of warriors still locked in an eternal battle. Would you be brave enough to walk the halls of the Fortress of Shadows, knowing that the warriors who trained here never truly left? Farciennes Castle. Some castles are forgotten, others like Farciennes Castle in Belgium refuse to stay buried. Built in the 14th century, this place has been torn down, rebuilt, abandoned, and repurposed more times than anyone can count. First, it was a medieval stronghold, then a noble estate, then a victim of the French Revolution, and later, bizarrely, a starch factory and a farm. But no matter what humans tried to do with it, something always seemed to drag it back into darkness. The castle is now in complete ruin, its walls crumbling, its windows like dark, soulless eyes. But what's truly unsettling are the stories surrounding it. People claim to have seen shadowy figures wandering the remains, heard whispers in the empty halls. and felt an overwhelming sense of dread. Some say it's cursed, others believe it's haunted by those who suffered and died within its walls. And then, there's the disappearance of the last known owner. One day he simply vanished, leaving behind a decaying castle and more questions than answers. Was it foul play, or something much darker? Maybe Farcien's castle isn't abandoned after all. Maybe it's just waiting for its next victim. St. Briavel's Castle. If walls could talk, St. Briavel's Castle in England would scream. Originally built as a royal hunting lodge in the 12th century, it later became something far worse, a debtor's prison. And let me tell you, this was not the place to owe money. Prisoners were crammed into freezing, rat-infested cells with barely enough food to survive. Many never made it out. Some were even chained to the walls and left to rot, their desperate scratches still visible in the stone. But here's where it gets terrifying. Visitors say the spirits of those who died in agony still haunt the castle. People have reported feeling ice-cold hands gripping their shoulders, hearing tortured cries in the dead of night, and even seeing ghostly figures lurking in the corridors. The most chilling, the scratching ghost. Legend has it that one of the prisoners, driven mad by hunger and despair, spent his final days clawing at the walls. To this day, people claim to hear the sound of fingernails scraping against stone, even though the room is completely empty. Would you dare to spend a night inside a prison where even death couldn't set the inmates free? Craigmillar Castle. Some castles are haunted by ghosts. Craigmillar Castle is haunted by betrayal. Located just outside Edinburgh, this castle is most infamous for what happened in 1566, when a group of Scottish nobles gathered here to plan the murder of Lord Darnley, the husband of Mary, Queen of Scots. Darnley wasn't just disliked, he was a manipulative, power-hungry traitor, and the people closest to Mary wanted him gone. Thus, the Craigmillar Bond was signed, a secret agreement to kill him. A few months later, Darnley's house mysteriously exploded and his body was found strangled in the garden. Suspicious? Absolutely. But Craigmillar didn't just witness betrayal, it absorbed it. Visitors claim to feel a deep sense of unease inside the castle, as if they're being watched. Some have seen a sorrowful woman in a dark gown, believed to be Mary herself, forever trapped by the choices she made. Others have heard the whispers of plotting nobles still conspiring from beyond the grave. If walls could whisper secrets, Craigmillar Castle would tell you the deadliest one of all. Elmina Castle. Some castles tell stories of kings and queens. Elmina Castle in Ghana tells a story of suffering. Built in 1482 by the Portuguese, this castle wasn't just a stronghold, it was a prison of despair. It became one of the largest slave trading posts in West Africa, where thousands of men, women, and children were chained, tortured, and sold like cargo. Imagine standing in those dark, airless dungeons, where captives were packed so tightly they could barely breathe. The floor they stood on? Layers of human waste, sweat, and blood. And the horrors didn't end there. Women were dragged to the governor's quarters above, forced into unspeakable nightmares. Those who resisted were beaten, starved, or thrown into the ocean to drown. When the door of no return opened, it meant one thing: you were never coming back. Today the castle still stands as a reminder of this brutal past, but visitors report chilling experiences. Some say they hear cries echoing through the corridors, feel unseen hands brushing against their skin, or see shadowy figures moving in the dungeons. It's as if the souls of the enslaved still linger, whispering their pain into the wind. Would you step inside a place where history refuses to be forgotten? Château de la Motte Chandonnière. Deep in the French countryside, hidden by trees and ivy, lies Château de la Motte Chandonnière, a castle that simply refuses to die. Once a grand medieval fortress, it was later transformed into an extravagant chateau for French nobility. But tragedy struck in 1932 when a devastating fire engulfed the entire castle. Paintings, furniture, and priceless artifacts vanished in flames. Everything was reduced to ashes, except the stone walls. They stood, blackened but unbroken, like a skeleton of what once was. But here's the eerie part. The castle wasn't rebuilt, it wasn't demolished. Instead, nature took over. Trees sprouted in the grand halls, ivy wrapped around staircases, and sunlight streamed through broken windows, illuminating a place that looked more like a dream than reality. And yet, the castle feels alive. Visitors say the air inside is thick with whispers. Some claim to see phantom figures moving between the trees. Others feel an unsettling presence, as if the castle itself is watching. Maybe some places never truly die. Maybe Château de la Mauve Chandelier is just waiting for its next chapter. New Slains Castle. Perched on the edge of a towering cliff in Scotland, overlooking the violent waves of the North Sea, sits New Slains Castle, a place that looks like it was ripped straight from a Gothic horror novel. And in a way, it was. In 1895, author Bram Stoker visited this eerie, windswept ruin, and something about it lodged deep in his imagination. Soon after, he wrote Dracula, and the similarities between the Count's castle and New Slains are undeniable. The jagged cliffs, the endless ocean below, the howling wind that seems to whisper secrets. Yeah, sounds like the perfect lair for the world's most famous vampire. But here's where it gets unsettling. People claim the castle is haunted, not just by its own tragic history but by something darker. Shadows move where there should be none. Footsteps echo through empty halls. Some say they've heard a deep, raspy breath behind them, only to turn and find no one there. Is it just the power of suggestion? Or did Stoker sense something real lurking in the ruins? Whatever the truth, one thing is certain. New Slains Castle isn't just another abandoned fortress. It's a place where legends and nightmares are born. Would you dare to visit at night? Burj Al Babas. A fairy tale gone horribly wrong. Welcome to Burj Al Babas, Turkey, a place that was supposed to be a luxury paradise, but instead became one of the strangest ghost towns in the world. Picture this. Over 500 identical castles, each looking like something out of a Disney movie but completely empty. No people, no life. Just rows upon rows of abandoned mini-palaces stretching into the distance. So what happened? The developers planned to build an elite residential community, but in 2018 the entire project collapsed financially. Investors backed out, construction halted, and suddenly this dreamland turned into a haunting dystopia. And now, the castles are crumbling, the streets are silent, and an eerie fog often rolls in, making the whole place feel like a movie set from a forgotten horror film. Some say they've heard strange whispers carried by the wind, like the voices of people who were supposed to live there, but never did. Is Burj Al Babas a failed business venture? Or is it something more, a symbol of greed, ambition, and the ghosts of dreams that never came true? One thing's for sure, fairy tales don't always have happy endings. These castles may be forgotten, but their dark histories still linger, etched into their ruins like ghostly echoes of the past. From haunted halls to eerie legends, each one holds a mystery waiting to be explored. Which castle creeped you out the most? Let us know in the comments. And if you love uncovering hidden stories, subscribe to DwellScape for more fascinating journeys into the world's most mysterious places. Have you ever walked into a house and thought, wow, this place is weird? Well, trust me, you haven't seen anything yet. From homes that rotate at the push of a button to mansions shaped like toilets, today, we're diving into the 8 weirdest house layouts ever designed. Would you live in a house with no hallways? Or what about a floating spaceship in the jungle? Get ready because these homes will blow your mind. Which one would you choose? Let's find out. The Sharifai Ha House. Alright, imagine this. You wake up in the morning, and instead of walking outside for sunlight, you simply rotate your entire room. Sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, right? Well, welcome to the Sharifai Ha House in Tehran, Iran. This mind-blowing house is designed to change based on the weather, your mood, or simply because you feel like it. How? By rotating rooms at the push of a button. Yep, whole sections of the house pivot 90 degrees, transforming enclosed spaces into open terraces. In the summer you can enjoy an open-air layout. In winter, just turn your walls and boom, you're cozy inside again. Designed by architect Alireza Tagaboni, this house isn't just about looking cool, it's about functionality and adaptation. It's like having a house with a personality, constantly shifting to match the vibe of the day. But here's the real kicker. This isn't a concept, it's real. And it challenges everything we think we know about home design. Instead of static spaces, imagine homes that respond to your needs. The future of architecture, it might just be a house that moves with you. So tell me, if you had a rotating house, which room would you spin first? Your bedroom, the living room? Let me know in the comments. The Melnikov House. Okay, here's a question. What if your house had no hallways? Like at all. Every room just flows into the next with no clear path, no walls blocking the way. Sounds chaotic, right? Well, that's exactly what the Melnikov House in Moscow does. Built in the 1920s by architect Konstantin Melnikov, this house is shaped like two massive cylinders stacked together, and the interior layout? Completely unconventional. Instead of boring straight corridors, the rooms are just connected. Walk into one and boom, you're already in the next. Now, let's talk about the windows. Most homes have standard square or rectangular windows, right? Not this one. The Melnikov house has over 60 windows scattered across the walls in a honeycomb pattern. This means natural light floods the house from all angles at all times. Imagine waking up to sunlight hitting you from 10 different directions, a morning person's dream, or a nightmare. But here's the real question. Would you actually live in a house like this? No hallways, just free-flowing space. It might be weird, but it's also kinda genius. No wasted space, no long walks to the kitchen at night, so what do you think? Love it or leave it? The steel house. Alright, picture this. You're driving through Texas, minding your own business, when suddenly you see a giant, futuristic, rusted metal structure perched on a hill. It looks like it could be a robot's head or maybe some alien spaceship that crash-landed and decided to stay. This, my friends, is the Steel House, and it's one of the strangest, most fascinating homes ever built. Designed by artist and architect Robert Bruno, this house is pure metal. 110 tons of it, welded together into a shape that makes zero sense until you step inside. The windows curve like spaceship portals, the floors twist in unexpected ways, and the whole thing feels like you're walking through a living sculpture. But here's the crazy part. Bruno spent 34 years building this thing, by himself. No contractors, no crew, just him and a dream. Sadly, he passed away before fully finishing it. But the house remains one of the most mind-bending creations in architecture. Would you live in a house like this? Or would you be worried it might start walking off in the middle of the night? Let me know in the comments. The bubble house. Imagine walking into a house where everything is round. The walls, curved, the doors, circular, even the furniture. Soft, bubble-like structures that flow into each other like melted wax. Welcome to the Bubble House, a surreal architectural masterpiece in Cannes, France. Designed in the 1970s by architect Antti Lovag, this house breaks every rule of traditional design. Lovag believed straight lines were aggressive and that a home should feel natural, like a cave, wrapping around its inhabitants in a soft, flowing embrace. Now, this isn't some tiny experimental house. It's a massive mansion, with interconnected spheres forming bedrooms, living spaces, and even a rooftop terrace overlooking the Mediterranean Sea. And guess what? The house has hosted fashion shows, celebrity parties, and even film shoots because, let's be honest, it looks straight out of a sci-fi movie. But here's the big question. Do you think you could live in a house with zero straight walls? Or would it drive you crazy trying to hang a picture? Drop your thoughts in the comments. The Winchester Mystery House. Alright, imagine living in a house where staircases lead to nowhere, doors open into solid walls, and hallways twist in random directions like a never-ending maze. Sounds like something out of a horror movie, right? Well, welcome to the Winchester Mystery House, one of the strangest and most haunted homes in the world. Located in San Jose, California, this mansion was built by Sarah Winchester, the widow of the famous gun manufacturer. After losing her husband and child, she became convinced that the spirits of those killed by Winchester rifles were haunting her. Her solution? Never stop building. For 38 years straight, construction crews worked 24/7, adding rooms, tearing down walls, and expanding the mansion into a 160-room labyrinth of confusion. Sarah believed that as long as the house kept growing, the ghosts wouldn't catch her. The result? A house that makes zero sense. Windows overlooking other rooms, staircases that go up into ceilings, and secret passageways designed to confuse ghosts, or maybe just visitors. Today, the mansion is a tourist attraction, with people claiming they've heard whispers, footsteps, and even ghostly figures wandering the halls. So here's the real question. Would you spend a night in the Winchester Mystery House? Or would you be too afraid of getting lost forever? Tell me in the comments. The toilet-shaped house. Okay, let's be honest, when you think of dream houses, you probably don't picture a giant toilet, right? Well, someone did, and not just anyone. The former mayor of Suwon, South Korea, Sim Jae-duck, who was so passionate about sanitation that he built his own house in the shape of a toilet. Yes, you read that right. This bizarre creation is called Haiwuji, which translates to a place of sanctuary, because, let's face it, for many people the bathroom is a sanctuary. Built in 2007, this two-story toilet-shaped mansion was designed to raise awareness about the importance of sanitation and hygiene worldwide. But wait, it gets even weirder. Inside, you'll find a massive glass-walled bathroom in the center of the house. Don't worry, it fogs up for privacy. Along with exhibition spaces that showcase the history of toilets. Yes, an entire museum dedicated to the evolution of human waste management. The house even has a rooftop balcony because apparently, nothing beats enjoying a sunset from the top of a toilet. So, be honest, if you had the chance, would you live in a toilet-shaped house? Or is this just too weird? Let me know what you think. The UFO house. Alright, imagine you're hiking through a dense rainforest. Birds chirping, leaves rustling, everything feels like pure nature. But then, out of nowhere, you see a UFO, just sitting there, no joke. It's a massive, futuristic-looking house in the middle of the jungle, and it looks like it could take off at any second. Welcome to the UFO house in the Daintree Rainforest, Australia. This place is straight-up alien-looking with curved metallic walls, a sleek hovering design, and a structure that seems to defy gravity. Designed by Charles Wright, this house is built on stilts over a lake, making it look like it's floating. But get this, it's 100% off-grid. Yep, this futuristic home runs entirely on solar power, collects rainwater, and even has its own waste recycling system. Basically, it's a self-sustaining spaceship in the middle of the jungle. And if you're thinking, wait, does someone actually live here? The answer is yes. This is a fully functioning home complete with massive glass walls that let you stare straight into the rainforest. Or, let the animals stare at you. So here's the question. Would you live in a floating spaceship house in the jungle? Or is this a little too much like a sci-fi horror movie waiting to happen? Drop your thoughts in the comments. The Puzzle Tower. Imagine looking up at a 230-foot tower that looks like a bunch of tiny houses stacked on top of each other, some sticking out, some tilted at weird angles, and none of them making any logical sense. That's the Puzzle Tower, an upcoming architectural marvel in Tirana, Albania, and it's like nothing you've ever seen before. Designed by architect Stefano Borri, this gravity-defying tower is made up of interlocking house-shaped modules that look like they're about to collapse. Except they won't, because engineering magic. Each unit is designed to be a mini house within a massive skyscraper, giving every resident their own private home in the sky. But wait, it gets even crazier. The Puzzle Tower isn't just weird on the outside, it's packed with insane features inside too. We're talking hanging gardens, rooftop pools, open-air cinemas, and community spaces that literally float between units. The whole thing is meant to challenge traditional urban design by proving that high-rise buildings don't have to be boring glass boxes. Instead, they can feel like stacked villages in the sky. So what do you think? Would you live in a Jenga-style skyscraper where your house might be sticking out 30 feet into the air? Or would you rather stay on solid ground? Let me know in the comments. And that's a wrap on the 8 weirdest house layouts ever designed. Which one was your favorite? Would you actually live in any of these, or are they just too bizarre? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this, hit that like button and subscribe to DwellScape for more mind-blowing architecture and design content. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss out. See you in the next one.